Good morning and welcome back to Ecocentric Homestead. I have some potting up to do. But before we do, I'll just give a quick look around the grow room. As you've seen, the tiny tim are ripening up. So far this year, I've harvested 377 grams or 0.8 pounds of tiny tim tomatoes. My kale has gotten back to the point now that I'm starting to harvest it again. I had to move these two out here because they're getting too big for the other shelf. They seem to be going slow, but as you can see, the cucumbers, I have some that are obviously growing. And the onions here, they're doing wonderfully. Almost every one of them are up and growing well. I have more than enough onions right here to do the 2 beds that I want to fill out. These are not coming up as well. There are still some that are sprouting yet. But because it's a different package, I can't really say it's because of how they were planted or where they're growing. In here, they seem to be doing better, except for I apparently planted them too deep. I may clip the top of these. These are the evergreen onions. But these are the ones I planted much earlier now. I've been clipping the tops when they get to the point. See, this one is curved over, so in a little bit I'll clip the top off of this one. And there's a couple more that's turned over there, but they were growing real nice, so they're plant out. I have some plans where I'm going to plant those rosemary later today. Basil's doing well, wonderfully well, and I'm going to be able to grow some good basil this year. I'll show you that in a little bit. I have a pepper growing. I think that is chocolate pepper. There are several flowers. This one is flowering really well. It's the pepper in that square pot. Of the peppers I'm growing from seed, Ring of Fire peppers, still doing the best. It is flowering. I don't have any noticeably ones that are growing as peppers yet. I've been trying to hand pollinate them. Oh. And here's the tiny tim that's over here. It's got a real big bunch of tomatoes on it yet. I'll get things reorganized here during the day. But here's our Pedro knot pepper growing much better than it was. The California Wonder pepper is starting to come along. And that's the red bell pepper back there. I'm not happy with the speed at which the salad greens I'm trying here are growing, but I will get it eventually. And this is today's task. I have to pot up these tomatoes. Before I start up potting, I need to make sure I have plenty of stakes for my markers. In woodworking, quite often we say there's no such thing as waste wood, just pieces that haven't found its place yet. And this is a prime example. I saved these from when I was doing some woodworking last year. And since they're so thin, I just put them in there and break them. Doesn't necessarily have to be smooth on the ends, but it's not too bad anyway. Have some music on while I'm doing this. Hopefully I don't get a copyright strike from that. I had intended to bring my stool in from the shed, but I forgot and got my office chair here with a cushion on it. Hopefully it's comfortably enough. I'm going to hot pot the tomatoes into these right now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows that are almost full. Now if you remember, they're 9 in a row because I didn't put a seed in the first one. There's 3 in that one, 5 in that one, and now these actually, yes, the rows that aren't full, remember Rugter's, Starfire, Scotia, Cherry and Beefsteak, were tomatoes that I had been given the seed. And sometimes you can get really old tomatoes to germinate. Now I stored mine in the cold room, but prior to them being given me, those seeds were stored in a attic of a shed, so you know how hot it gets up there. And as you can see, there's only a few have germinated yet. There is one that has germinated just recently, so some more might germinate. We shall see. It's a lot of tomato plants. See, these I have a big hole in the bottom, but once the soil is packed in, it stays. Rather than put it directly on the desk, I'll get this nice smooth board here. Tomatoes, I up pot several times. I think I'm going to turn down that music a bit. And since tomatoes will root along the stem when you bury them deep, you up pot them 2 or 3 times, and then you get this big massive root ball on your tomatoes and a healthier plant. Now I want to start with over here, and you see those little green stakes in here. That shows me what the seeds are, because this is yellow pear tomato, and those 3 seeds are from Haas Tools from last year's Shed Wars. The roots haven't gone actually that far yet, see? The plant could have grown quite a bit more yet. Careful you don't break your plant. I'm going to take off the seed leaves. And then I'll take a marker and put down yellow pear, Hoss tools. So that's a yellow pear tomato. The seed come from Hoss Tools. I'll lay that back there. Now this next one is interesting. Because there's two plants. Hopefully they're both yellow pear. I'm going to separate them and mark them as yellow pear Hoss Tools. But I don't know. We'll find out when they produce. Tomatoes are kind of a tough little plant with respect to transplanting. Slowly tease them apart so I don't tear the roots. That's two done. I'll continue on and I'll bring you back if there's something that I want to point out special. Otherwise I'll bring you back when I get the entire set up potted. So I realized an easier way to hot pot these little seedlings. I'll still pack it down about halfway. And fill the cup right full. Make it a hole the length of my index finger. Carefully take out the next one. It's furthest north I'm doing right now. It's nice when I can get most of the plug. Now just drop them down that hole. If it doesn't go all the way to the bottom, I'll have to take something to get it down there like that. And first right in close, pack that then in around. It's much faster and easier to do it that way. I've taken out all of the tallest ones. These I'm going to put back and let grow a little more. 36 tomato plants potted into cups. I'm going to move all of these now up to the sunroom. It'll be a little cooler there at night especially, and maybe during the day. So they will grow a little slower, and I have lots of time. I planted these early, as I said in the previous video when I was actually planting them. As for Golden Nugget, remember I said that this might be another houseplant type tomato, similar to Tiny Tim. So I'm going to leave 2 of the Golden Nugget tomatoes in the grow room, and all of the rest, the 34 tomato plants, I'll put up in the sunroom. Well, here they are in the sunroom. I put them on this table, moved the table over in front of the patio door so it's got lots of light. And this is what's new in the sunroom. I finally filled this container full. This container here was almost full of compost. Most of it decomposed. I had worms in there, and the worms disappeared. I guess they must have died, even though I was feeding them and keeping it moist. So I put a layer of that. I put it in here and spread it over in a continuous layer. And then this is a mixture of soil and compost in itself. I want to get some plants that can't grow here. I can't grow them outside. The bay tree and marjoram is 2 of them. So what I would like to do is put a bay tree in the middle and put marjoram on one side, and then decide what plant I'm going to put on the other side. But for this year, I'm going to try growing basil in here, because even though we have plenty of time, when I've tried to grow basil outside before, it didn't grow well just because our summer didn't get warm enough. Up in the later July and early August, it decided to take off, but then the temperatures cooled down again. For this winter, this is a sickly pepper, but the other pepper he did just fine, and sitting out close to the windows. I have these 2 buckets which are going to have permanent plants in them. Of course, the 5-gallon buckets, they're for tomatoes, and you'll see come fall how I'm going to have tomatoes in here, hopefully trying to overwinter them. Here are my 2 biggest pepper plants, and I will get them looking nice now when they start to grow over the summer. They survive during the winter, but the temperature stays low enough that they go dormant. I hope you enjoyed my little update. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. If you want to follow along to see how these tomato plants grow, both in their form and production, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video.